Megtooth Sabers requires a lot of work on engineering, drilling, smoothing, tapping, setting, imagining, cutting, stripping, twisting, dipping, tin it, pin it, wire it, fire it, lock it, rust it, swing it, bash it. Megtooth Sabers.
Greetings, Saber fans, we're live. So tonight I want to do a video for y'all. I'm trying to straighten out that. And basically, we're going to do the install on the Saber now. I'm probably not going to get to the soundboard tonight because, I don't want this to be an epic long video, and I do have a lot of other things going on. But I figure at the very least tonight, hopefully we can get to the Shtok connector, the switches, the recharge port, the battery, and the speaker. And basically we're going to get all those components in wired and tested, and maybe next week we'll show installing the Proffie on it. I still have to figure out where I'm going to seat the Proffie on this thing because it's kind of a weird chassis. But this Saber is done by, this was a Gary Morris hilt, and it's etched by Ryan Ronin. And I'll try and show you the camera under better light, or the etch under better lighting here, as I've tried to show it the last couple of weeks. But first things first, we're going to take the hilt apart so we can get down to the components that I need to be working on tonight. And everything is held together. This is almost like a lightsaber within a hilt. Uh-oh, it's echoing. Why would it be echoing? Let's see. Oh, I think I know why. How about now? Hopefully it stopped echoing now. Hopefully y'all are not getting an echo. But at any rate, this Saber was done by Gary Morris, and it's almost like a saber within a saber. And this is what we're going to be working on tonight. I'm going to put all the let me know, guys, if it stopped echoing. I hope it stopped echoing. I always have sound issues. I'm sorry. I'm like a moron when it comes to sound. Sweet. Yeah, I had two microphones on, and they were, probably working off of each other. And there. So now that I have the hilt broke down into its main components, you can see it's already got two Switch 22s that were installed in there. I don't know who did that, whether it was Gary Morris or Ryan Ronin. The recharge port, the 2.1 millimeter recharge port, is already installed in there as well. And now I've just temporarily put the Shtok connector in there, and this is the V2 of the main Shtok connector. It's not the Eco connector. And of course the battery is going to go here, which I didn't get that out yet. Speaker here. And of course we're going to have to put Neopixels in there to illuminate the chamber. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to illuminate the chamber from behind because the wire passages are kind of small. But at the very minimum, we'll get all the main stuff in tonight, and maybe I'll see if I can eke some Neopixel wires in there along with my speaker wires. I might be able to fit it all in there. But I think the big thing we're going to do tonight is wire up one of these Shtok V2 connectors. A lot of people have a lot of questions on these, and I see a lot of questions on the Saber groups, and I kind of want to, oops, I guess I need to loosen the retention pin on there. But hello everybody, good to see everybody. And I see Bobby, Michael Dallin, Wooly, Brian Connor, Chet Osborne. Hey Brian, did you get your Proffie 3.7 Sabers working, right? Because there haven't been a whole lot of posts about it, but I thought yours was working. Chet Osborne's in there, Kendall Hall, and of course Bobby Susan Bach, Michael Dallin. So hello everybody, we're going to get to work here, and I want to show you a lot of this stuff under a camera zoomed in, but I'm trying to get it all apart. I'm going to show you the stuff I'll buy. Kim Kanama, good to see you. So I buy these, and I had to modify this one to fit inside this hilt because it's a little less than 1 inch. But I buy the Shtok hilt adapters already assembled from Saber Bay, but I also buy Saber Bay's holders in 1" and 7/8 and Saber Bay's diffusion because it's pretty simple. So once you get the Shtok connector soldered up, you just put it through the diffuser like that. And I'll show this on better video here in a minute. And then the diffuser and the connector just snap right into your hilt adapter like that. And then you just slide this into your hilt, and Bob's your auntie, and you're up and running with the Shtok connector. Now, there are trying to see what Brian answered there. Haven't had anything else to do with it unless disembody and do different hilt. Well, you did get it working though, right? I was just trying to see about that. Well, I'm waiting for Brian Connor because there's a 45-second delay on this, which sucks. I don't do it. It's just, I think YouTube does that to Big Brother us. I don't know. But at any rate, I wanted to show y'all something. So I'm going to go to screen share real quick. Let's go to Windows Share without me in it. And we'll do a couple things. Number one, on YouTube, I'm going to go to just YouTube. So I'm going to go to YouTube. I want to show you something because Bobby sent me a message right before we went live. And let's say there's a channel like this Born Again Boating channel. Outboard Won't Pee. And I like this channel and I want to subscribe to it. And I'm watching one of their videos. You can see the subscribe button over here where I can subscribe to their channel. And then once I subscribe, I can click on this notification bell. And now I'll be notified anytime they post a video. On my channel, for those of you that watch the channel, if you're having trouble getting notifications, try to make sure that you're subscribing to the channel and hitting the notification bell and selecting all, and that will get you all notifications when I go live. Now, aside from that, oh, it's working great. Sweet. I'm glad, Brian. So we got, 2 up and running. I just hadn't heard a lot from you. I'm sure you were working in the OS 6 and working on your prop file and all that, but was just looking forward to hearing about that. So what I want to show y'all is I want to get into the V2 connection manual. So Nana Biscotti. Neoconnect. I don't remember which one it was. Neopixel connector manual V3. We'll see. We'll see if this one's it. Yeah, this is the manual we need. So I know sometimes people get a little bit weirded out in Dimitri's manual, but as you can see here on this page of the manual, page 5 of 16, there's 4 ways you can wire these. You can wire it just as a blade adapter, but if you're going to do that, you might as well just buy the custom Saber shop ones that don't have the Neopixels on the connector. So I don't know why anybody would do V1. Now V2, you can do the blade and PCB LEDs in parallel, which basically means that the 16 Neopixels on this will do the same as the first 16 Neopixels on your blade. Then you can do them in series as V3, where you only have one data line, but you can program them in series, so you can program them as subblades. And you're going to have to add the additional 16 LEDs in your config. But then you have V4, which is blade, and then the LEDs that are on the connector are independent of one another, and you actually have 2 data lines running off of that. Now, I know that we've discussed this before, and that, everybody wants me to do subblades. I don't do subblades because I don't trust the redundant data. I don't trust subblades. I still don't trust subblades. But maybe someday y'all will convince me to do subblades. But I run these in V4 independent, and that allows me to control the onboard LEDs. Here, I'll show you. So my I buy it. You have to buy them separate when you buy them from Saber Bay. But this one has the Dimitri Shtok Hilt. Is bright as hell. But it has the Hilt adapter in there. And one of the main reasons I do that is I can get... There's my battery blade. So my battery blade is blinking in there just like it does on your lightsaber blade. And it's pretty cool because it's its own independent thing. But I don't know. That's one of the main reasons I do it. But it's easy to do. It's not that hard. But yeah, you do have to buy the diffusion lens from Saber Bay with the caps. But I like the Saber Bay ones because he just did really good engineering on them. They're made out of Delrin, and they're easy to reduce size because they're Delrin. They're not 3D printed, so you can size them down like I had to do in this hilt. So the opening in this hilt is just less than 1 inch where that adapter needs to go. So I actually had to take some of this material off of there so that the adapter would fit down inside of this hilt like that. But what I'm going to do now is, now we know we're going to do V4, I'm going to go back to screen share, and I want to show y'all something that a lot of people miss. Let's go Windows share, no peek, and then we'll go back to V4. The important thing to notice on V4, so I buy these assembled, and they actually come with both resistors, which I'll show you on the camera here in a minute. It comes with R2 and R1, and as you can see in V4, there's only R2, so there's not a data line resistor on R1, so you have to remove the R1 resistor if you're going to run this in V4. But I'll show all that here in just a second. And since I'm using 22 gauge, I'm only going to use 1 positive, 1 negative, but I will have 2 data, so I am going to have 4 wires coming off this thing. So while I've still got y'all on screen share, let me move the camera over here. I want to get onto this Hilt adapter, and I'll show you some stuff once I get zoomed in here. And hopefully the light is good here and I can point some things out. Make sure it's right side up facing you guys so you guys can see it. I'm trying to get it centered. Okay, now let's switch you guys' view back over here. And I'm sorry, but I won't be in the frame in the chat too much tonight because we got a lot of stuff going on. So in the manual, I told you we have, this is R2, which we're going to use R2 because we're using independent data because we're wiring this in V4 configuration. But we need to get rid of this resistor, which is on R1. And I've got my handy dandy soldering iron already heated up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat up both pads on this resistor, and I'm going to try and punt it. And it can be tough. But there, I got it off. And there it is. Now, I'm going to clean up these pads and make sure that they're not bridged still. I don't want to do that other resistor. So there you can see, let me get it where you guys can see it. I've removed R1. Now, what I want to do, let me clean off my soldering iron and bring in my solder, is I'm going to pre-tin the data line that we're going to use for our redundant data. So on these Shtok connectors, this line right here, this is D2. This is for independent onboard pixels. This is where we're going to have an independent data line coming off. So I'm pre-tinning that pad to receive our data. Now, I'm going to take my multimeter out, and I'm going to zoom out so you guys can see the multimeter and hopefully see what I'm doing. So stand by. Let me zoom out. Oop, that's zooming in. Let's zoom out. Oh, come on, camera. It's so hard doing this stuff upside down and live and backwards. All right, so it looks like we're all the way zoomed out there. So I've got my multimeter, and I'm going to bring my multimeter in. I'm hoping you guys are going to be able to see all this. Let me try to sneak my multimeter under the tripod there. This is going to be precarious because it's not really wanting to balance like that. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check continuity here where we've removed this resistor and make sure I don't have continuity. And I don't. So when I touch the probes, I get the tone, but when I touch these two pads that were where our resistor was, I do not get tone. Now the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to touch that pad we just tinned, and let me change the settings on this because I want to measure that resistor and make sure that we're getting the proper resistance on the data. So you can see there we got, oh, it was showing it for a second. Oh, it's so hard to do this and make sure that y'all can see it in frame. So I got 327 ohms there on this data line. So this is the data resistor for our independent data, and that is the pardon me, that's the independent data for these 16 onboard resistors. And by the way, 16 onboard Neopixels. So there's 16 of them. So we've done all that. So we're solid there. Now our main blade data is going to solder directly to the center pin, because on all these Neopixel adapters, whether it's TCSS 7-pin or 11-pin or Shtoks, the center pin is your main blade data. The outsides are your positives and the inner circle are your negatives. And that's basically how that works. So basically what I'm going to do on this adapter, get it back in frame, is we're gonna solder I use 26 gauge for my main data here on the main pin. We're gonna solder a brown wire. I'm using 30 gauge for my secondary data, which is going to control the onboard LEDs. We're going to put that on that pad that we just tinned, which is D2. Then I'm going to add one positive wire on one of these positive poles. It doesn't matter which one it is, as long as I put it there. And then I'm going to add our one negative wire on one of these poles. Now there's all kinds of stuff you can do with blade ID and blade detect, but I'm not using any of that on this Saber. So I'm just basically wiring this, as normal. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is I've got some wire here, and let me get the multimeter out of there, and then I'll get zoomed back in here so we can go to work, and hopefully you guys can see what we're doing. I'll try and make sure that we're in frame here. But I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to off frame. Oh, there's my brown wire. I don't need that yet. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my purple wire, which is 26 gauge, and I'm going to strip it. Yeah, I know I run these weird, Brian. I mean, everybody is like, why do you use V4? And I just use V4 because I don't trust sub-blades, and I like being able to have the independent control of the, and by the way, you guys, we're in a bad thunderstorm right now, and I can already see some warnings on my, hey Max, I can already see some warnings on my internet speed. It's been in and out. So if you guys lose me, I am in the middle of a pretty severe thunderstorm here in North Carolina right now. So I can hear the thunder coming down outside. So basically I'm going to pre-tin my data wire. Y'all have seen me do this a million times. And I'm going to trim it to size because I just don't want a whole lot of wire sticking out. I try to trim it so it's about as long as the pad and not much longer. And then now that I've got my wire pre-tinned, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to tin our center data pin, and then I'm going to bring the wire in here. I'm going to melt the solder, and bada bing. And I think I moved it right before it solidified. Dimitri uses, or Justin, whoever's putting these together, they're actually using silver solder, and I use leaded solder. I know some of you guys are going to be like, leaded solder? You're going to die from lead poisoning, but, you know, I do use leaded solder. I'm going to try and get that back in view. So you can see my main data is connected there, and now I'm going to add... I saw your sound font review, Max. That's great. I'm just so glad you have a functioning Saber that you can do sound font reviews on. That's awesome. I actually did see that, Max. Great job. And it's awesome to see you have a functioning Saber that you can do that kind of stuff with. It has brought me a lot of joy. I was like, Max did a sound font review. Check that out. And, you know, you got to love your Australian accent on those things too, and your excitement. I mean, your excitement is contagious, Max. It's awesome. But now I'm going to bring in, I'm getting ready to do my positive wire. Now the positive wire is on the outside, and on the adapters where it sets in, you don't want anything messing with the positive too much. So you want to run the positive inboard. So you don't want to run it outboard. So, and when I mean inboard, I'm talking about inward. So I'm pre-tinning one of the positive pads there, bada bing. And now, I should have taped this down. Now I'm going to bring in our positive wire. I'll melt that solder. I couldn't really see that joint. Let's try and do that a little bit better. Sorry, I'm zoomed in here, but there. So there is my positive. I could probably do a little bit better soldering there, but trying to keep it on screen and where you guys can see it is going to be about impossible. Trying to, all right. Looks like y'all can see it there. I'm going to try and come in with some solder here and bada bing. Beautiful. So there's our positive. So now I'm going to do the same with our negative. Let me see here. Need some wires to strip the negatives. Put that positive where you guys can see my positive and data are on there. Bada bing. Yeah, you know, I'm kind of trying to watch what you guys are saying, Kim and Brian, but you know, everybody was worried about, you know, dual, you know, resistors, because the Proffie has the onboard resistor. I believe it's 330 ohms for data line 1, but most modern Neopixel blades, most of the blade installers are actually putting the resistors on the blades. So then the fear was, well, how much resistance is too much resistance on a Neopixel blade? And, you know, for some guys that are used to Hilts, the resistor on a Neopixel blade doesn't reduce the brightness or limit the power that's going to the Neopixels. It's basically like a filter. It flattens out the noise in the data line, as it were. I should have taped this thing down. Oh, this one's going to be tough. This is negative. So I'm probably going to get this positive out of the way a little bit. I'm going to pre-tin a negative pad here. And I think I'm going to go to this one right here. Pre-tinning it with solder. Got the wire in my mouth. Alright, here we go. Now, pads pre-tinned, wires pre-tinned. Let's go in for the kill on negative. I should have taped it down. Yeah. Dang. From video, and this thing's going to be moving around. Try taping this thing down so it's not moving around on me, and maybe staying where you guys can see it. I mean, it doesn't have to be totally immobilized, but I don't want it sliding and moving around. And let's get some tape on the other side. Blue painter's tape. I want to make sure I don't cover up my pad that I left in there. And hopefully that'll immobilize it, and hopefully you guys can still see where we're working there. That'll make my life a lot easier now. So now I'm going to heat up the pad. Get that solder good and flowy. And then I'm going to bring in the wire. God, I hate this silver solder they use. Hang on a minute. I will cure it. I will cure it. Because I'm going to contaminate Dimitri's silver with some lead. Dimitri hates lead solder. Anytime he sees somebody saying that they use lead solder, he gets all upset. And I'll let that cool. Bada bing, bada boom. Sweetness. All right, now the last wire we have to do is going to be our data 2, which was the pad we pretended at the very beginning. That one right there. And let me get my 30 gauge brown wire and strip our 30 gauge, which is our secondary data, because I'm running this Neopixel, the Shtok. This is not an eco connector now. This is the full Monty, the Shtok lit connector, and NX pixel connector, whatever he calls it. I call them lit connectors. And I'm running this one in V4 configuration, which I showed in the beginning of the video, the difference. And I've also showed the steps you got to do to get it here, and some of the testing that I do. I'm going to cut some of the, you guys can see that I'm not going to get that wire in there because I'm zoomed in. You guys can't see it anyway. I'll bring it in here in a second. So now we're going to bring in our secondary data. And this one's going to be going to leaded solder because I'm the one that tinned this pad. So it should be a little bit easier. So I'm going to reach around here, giving the old reach around to the secondary data wire. And you guys can see my shaky hands. Oh, come on now. Something got me there. There we go. Woo! That was a good one. That was a good one. All right, so we're out. Bada bing. Those bitches wired. So now we can get all this tape out of this BS. And guess what else I brought? So if y'all watch my channel, you know that I thought I put one out here, and I don't see it. There's our lit connector all wired up in V4. Hopefully you guys can see it. I'm still showing I'm okay on my end. Hope that was it. But there is the V4 all wired up. Now I'm using 22 gauge wire for my positive and negative. I'm going to test those for continuity and make sure I didn't bridge nothing there, because there's a lot of solder on that negative, probably too much. I know that one looks good and my main data looks good. I just want to check and make sure there's no continuity between my negative and my main, and I'm looking at it magnified there, and I think I'm going to be good. But at any rate, that's it. So all these negatives on that inner circle, they have continuity between them. So if you bridge, two of the pins that are side by side, you're okay. But you definitely don't want to bridge negative and main data, and you don't want to bridge positive and negative, and you don't want to bridge positive and this data. So I'm gonna check continuity on those here in a second and make sure we're good. But right now, I'm trying to find my male plug that I had laid out here, I thought, because we're going to get the old test rig out. Let me get these. Oh, there it is. I found it. So I'm going to bring in this male plug. And for those of y'all that don't know, we built a test rig on Megtooth Monday Live. We built a test rig that I used to test Neopixels. And we're going to be able to test these onboard pixels. I'm zooming you all out with our test rig that we built on Megtooth Monday Live, which is a custom Saber shop MHS V6 chassis with an 18650 15 amp battery, and it has a female plug on it. The cool thing about that female plug is we can plug into this male plug, and we'll connect this haphazardly to the wires we just soldered. So the first thing I'm going to do is test the onboard Neopixels. So I'm going to strip some of our red wire here. Y'all can see I'm still like a testaholic. I'm always testing. I don't even know that we'll get battery and all that crap done tonight. We'll go as far as we can tonight, but I don't want to, go too crazy here. And I'm going to strip some wire there. So there we go. Now let's pre-tin all these wires that I just stripped. So I'm going to dip them in some flux, and we're going to pre-tin all these wires. So the wires that I'm pre-tinning are going to be my secondary data, which is the brown wire that went to data 2, because it controls our onboard Neopixels. We will test the main data wire too. And I'm going to solder our red wire, and I'm going to pre-tin our negative wire. And now, now what I'm going to do is on this connector, the white wire on this male connector is negative. The white wire is negative. The green wire is data, and the red wire is positive. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to need helping hands, as if I didn't have enough crap in the way, is I'm going to use my helping hands here. Now I got a camera tripod, helping hands, and everything else. This is our red wire. So I'm going to take a red wire and I'm going to tack this in there. Just like that. And then next I'm going to do data. So I'm going to put the green wire in there. And I'm going to tack the black wire. And then, if this was going to be permanent, of course I would use heat shrink. But this is just a temporary test. I'm going to tack our secondary wire onto the green data, just like that. And then last is our white wire. Oh, my data tack didn't hold. You son of a bee. You're going to hold. And you don't want to, but you're going to. I'm going to load you up with leaded solder, and I guarantee you're going to hold. I guarantee. Bada bing. She held that time. Now we're going to go to the negative wire. I probably should have run that the other way so you guys could see it. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. And now we're going to tack this negative wire here. Oy! Damn helping hands almost tipped over. Everything's in the way. Normally when I'm doing this, I don't have tripods and cameras and everything else around. I'm all by my lonesome. So basically, let me get the helping hands out of the way, because we already have enough crap in here. So now we have our Neopixel adapter that we've soldered up. Now, of course, I don't have my main data. We'll do that in a second. But what we want to check right now are these onboard Neopixels on the adapter. So now we're getting ready to see if I'm a hero or a zero. So we're going to plug in our positive. We're going to plug in our plug into our test rig. We're going to bring our test rig out of deep sleep. And we're going to hold these wires apart so they don't short out. I'm going to bring the adapter in and ignite. Ha ha ha! Flash work, sweet. Lock that. Let's try a different color. There's red. Lock up. Sweet. So the onboard pixels work. We know that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap data lines. So now we're going to test our main data. So I'm going to unsolder this temporary connection. And by the way, I unplugged that before we did that. And then we're going to come in here and we're going to strip our main data. And we're going to be able to put this kind of into the Saber maybe and test. So let's see, 26 is my main data. So strip 26. And you know, I glue these things together when I'm putting them together, and I don't know. We'll get as far as I can tonight. I'm talking about the Shtok adapter. I actually use E6000 to glue them together once I get it solid. But we'll be able to test it tonight, and you can see it working in the hilt. But I won't wire it final because I'll take it apart and glue it. But we're going to put it in the hilt here real quick so you guys can see this hopefully lighting up a 1-inch blade. At least my test blade. So there we go. Now we've wired our... Oh, damn it. I wired the purple wire. I mean the brown wire again. Somebody probably saw that too. I need the purple wire. Hey, Jen Jen. Jen Jen logged on to check on me. I miss Jen Jen on Monday nights. Okay. So now I wired our purple wire, which goes to data 1 on there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and temporarily install this in the hilt. So I'm going to run our plug-in through there. And there's a reason that I have to do this. Oh, dang it. I'm going to have to jam that. Oh, my secondary data wire. I got to get it in there too. And, oh, you know what? I got to put it in the adapter. So I got to run this in through the adapter. And then I got to run that wire in through the adapter. And I'm going to drop all this into our adapter here in a second. Ugh. And let's put the lens on the thing. And twist it till it seats. There we go. And then you just pop it in. Just like that. See, it all snaps together. Nice and pretty as you please. And then I'm going to send it into the hilt. So I'm sending these wires into the hilt. Sending them into the hilt. Where, you know, eventually that'll be their final install location. That brown wire don't want to go. Where is my hemostats? I need my hemostats. I can see the brown wire, but my fingers are too big to get in where it's at. I'm going to be where you're at, and I got you. And now I'm sending that into the hilt. And kind of crazy. I'm going to put my hemostats in there. I know I want a little bit of exposure on this. And now I'm going to tighten that retention right there. And there you can, I don't like the way that's seated. It's not seated even. Let's try that again. It's going to have to be able to touch the blade. Oh, I know it's got to be. Sticking out a little bit here. Hang on a minute. I'm going to have to do some of this off screen. This thing is kind of fidgety. The recharge port is really in my way because I really need to be able to stick my finger in where that recharge port's at, but I can't get there. That's what I want. Let's tighten that up. Just like that. Oh, come on now. Of course, now that thing's going to fall apart on me, right? This is why you glue them together so that this crap doesn't happen. The ring fell out on me here, y'all. So now I got to put the Shtok connector all back together again. Got all, it's kind of... Alright, let's put the Shtok connector back together again. We're definitely not going to be installing the Saber full tonight. And the reason is because I'm a test freak. And because I like to make sure everything works. Which, you know, I guess that's good and bad. But at any rate, so there is the thing that's installed. I have some work to do. That's not how it's going to look final, but we're just trying to get this quick and dirty for the test. Now, let's see, where is the hilt top? Where did I put it at? There she blows. so we know this is kind of going to go like that. I'm just using this because I need a 1-inch blade holder, and this is how I'm going to get it. And it's going to be kind of screwy because I did this before and it worked out fine, so I figured we could do this on this video. And I'm going to pull those wires up through. This is just testing the blade. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to put our test blade in there. So there are test blades on the Saber. We're getting ready to test our main Neopixel data. So we're going to take this plug and we're going to make sure that all those wires are separate because we don't have shrink wrap on them. And we're going to plug into our test rig again. Keep those wires separate by hand. Oh, oh, oh! The main data works. Oh, damn thing's on there. So there you go. So the main data is working. Actually, it's not fully seated. I have to hold all this in. I'm having to hold it in because the springs aren't fully seated, but there we go. There's your lockup. Blasters, they're all showing up like they should. Alright, so we know my main data works. So bada bing, that's all the testing. So we know that the Shtok connector is successful on both onboard LEDs and its main data line for the main blade. So when we do the full install on this, it should be Mondo successful because we've tested all the components, at least for the blade, and we know that that works out good. Now I got to fish this all out of here and reverse the process that we did before so I can take it all apart. There's the hilt. I took the hilt top off. Hopefully you guys can see that now. I've been trying to show that on the last couple lives, but this is Ryan Ronin's Etch. And according to Tony, this is kind of like a Star Wars samurai thing, but it kind of looks like, I don't know, kind of looks like one of the Immortals from 300 to me. But that's the Etch on that side, and then on this side we have kind of like a dragon theme. Tiger, dragon, I don't know. A lot of cool stuff on that Saber. Which, like I said, this was a Gary Morris Saber that was etched by Ryan Ronin. And then I'm doing the install on this thing. Alright, so I'm going to take the Shtok hilt connector out so we can glue it up. And I have some touch-up work to do on it because where I machined it, that little plastic you saw is this little plastic lip. And I need to get that lip out of there. But at any rate, you know, there is the V4 connector, and we know that our main Neopixel blade data works, and we also know that the onboard pixels work because we tested both, and they are independent, so you have to test them independent if you have a test rig like I do. But that's that. So now I figured we'd get onto the recharge port. And I want to talk a little bit about these recharge ports, and I have a new one, but you can see the recharge port's already installed in this Saber here, and it's going to be a little bit more difficult putting the wires on while it's in the Saber. I know it's nice etching, isn't it? But I want to talk about the recharge port, but I also want to talk about these switches. And you can see each of those switches has 4 legs in there. You can see them, and these are switch 22s, so they're these, you know, ball switches. And this is, you know, the internal chassis, and this is the crystal reveal that when you take the rear of the chassis off, you'll be able to see that crystal reveal. And then the battery's all covered by its own there's actually another cover that goes over the battery like that, so the battery's totally covered. Actually, it goes like that. Yep, that's how it's going to go. So it's pretty slick, you know. Gary Morris is a genius. And then, you know, then you have Ryan Ronin's work on here, and then I'll be putting my work on here. And these wires here, you see, these are for the battery. I was just testing them to make sure they fit in there, but I actually don't have the battery wired up. I was hoping we're going to do that tonight, but right now I want to get to talking about recharge ports. So let's bring you all back to the zoom in. And yeah, the Switch 22s are definitely nice for that. And bring in the recharge port. So this is basically a yeah, it's a pretty Saber, Kim. It is definitely awesome. Yes. So I'm hoping we're going to get to the switches tonight, Cole, but I don't know, because I was like finger futzing around there, and it's already 9:15, so we're already running late. There are 3 pulls on these recharge ports. This one that says SC is actually the leg that gets cut off when something is plugged into the recharge port. If you can, trying to get it where you guys can see into the recharge port. Inside the recharge port, where you can see now, there is a spring lever mechanism. So when you plug in a charger port or a kill key into the recharge port, it actually springs away the leg for this leg here. And this leg that's etched SC, which is for Switchcraft, the brand of this recharge port, this is the actual leg that gets cut off. So this is the leg you want to run your wire to your Proffie board for negative. Not your battery negative, your negative that's going to your Proffie board. This is the one that gets cut off when a kill key is inserted. Opposite of the etched Switchcraft leg, this leg is connected to the center pin. This leg is your positive. So your battery positive goes to this leg that's opposite of the Switchcraft leg. Then the third remaining leg, this one, is your battery negative leg. This one goes to your battery negative. So tonight what we're going to be doing inside this Saber is we're going to be wiring our white wire to this Switchcraft leg here, and this white wire will go to our Proffie board eventually. I don't think I'm going to wire the battery positive, but I may wire the battery negative. The reason I'm probably not going to wire up battery positive tonight is because I'll do merges inside the chassis of all of our positives, and somehow I'll figure a way, you know, I may do the battery positive because then I can do the merges and under the board and just run a pigtail up to the board. So we'll go ahead and wire all of them tonight. But anyway, let me zoom back out and bring in the light Saber that we're working on. And I know that this one on this hilt, just so you guys are oriented, this is my positive, so that means this should be this cutoff leg and this should be battery negative. Positive because it's connected to the center pin, cutoff leg because it's opposite of the positive, but also it should be etched, and it is. This one is etched SC, and I can see a little bit of etching even though they've cut off the legs. And this one should be battery negative. And so I guess we'll start doing that. So let me get some more positive wire here. And I'm gonna run 22 to the recharge port. And I just need it long enough to get to where our merges are gonna be. So I need it about, you know, yay long, a couple inches. And I will do the same for our black negative. Actually, our black negative is going to come from our battery, so I probably need to wire the battery first. Is that wire going to be long enough to get there? Barely. Probably need to wire our battery first. Should have thought about that. So, I guess we'll bring in a battery. And then I know we're going to need to wire our speaker too, because our speaker wires have to route through there. This is all part of Saber building, so I do know that we need to probably get about a foot long 2x blue for the speaker. And this one takes a flat speaker. This is an older Hilt. Stand by, I'm going to take the Hilt out of there as I need to measure wire. We'll go about yay long. Bring the Hilt back in there so you guys can see it. I'm cutting wire for the speaker now. This one uses a 28mm flat premium speaker from the custom Saber shop. That's just what this Hilt takes. It won't take a bass speaker. 28mm is too much for it. And I'm probably cutting too much wire here, but it doesn't matter. Oh, dang it. I must have missed something. I've been off the face of the earth because it was my brother's birthday and it was also my niece's birthday, so I have been off the grid pretty much all week. So it sounds like I missed something. It sounds like I need to go watch Jeff Birch's channel. So I'm sorry I missed that. Yeah, I'll show you, Jeff. There's that. It actually is like a Saber within a Saber. So this is a Gary Morris Saber, and I'll show you how it goes together here in just a second. Stand by, I was cutting wires. So the top of the hilt, stand by. Let me jam these wires in there so they don't get caught up when I send this puppy home. Here's the top of the hilt. So the hilt will slide in just like this. Oops, I gotta screw in that. Stand by. I gotta screw in that retention screw that holds in our Shtok adapter that I already did. And I'll basically show you how this hilt goes together. So basically the hilt goes in like that, and there's your buttons and recharge port, and they are no longer exposed because they are captured within the hilt. And this screw right here holds that down. So they're only exposed while the inner saber is removed. Now technically you could undo this screw and you do have a Saber within a Saber, and you could see the board and everything then, but when the hilt's all together you won't be able to see it. Yep, Gary Morris is awesome, but I will figure all this out. But he also has a battery hide too. So for the battery compartment, you know, this goes on. I put it on backwards. This actually hides the battery compartment, Jeff. This outer sleeve, which it goes on with a retention screw here, and it goes into this little divot here. So it's a pretty cool little hilt. Got a lot of hides on it. You know, Gary Morris is. As soon as I took this hilt apart, I was like, "Holy crap, man! He's awesome." Gary Morris is awesome. So I'm sorry. Oh, just some stuff for education. Oh, well, I can't believe I missed it, Jeff. Is there something I should go watch or what? I'm gonna go ahead and wire this this speaker here real quick. Oh yeah, a Saber within a Saber. I don't think we're gonna finish the whole thing tonight, Cole. I think what I was just gonna try to do is just get some of the main components out of the way tonight. And in fact, once I get this recharge port wired up, we may call it quits. I'm going to get the recharge port, battery, and speaker wired up, and then I think we'll call it a night, because I need to go to bed, because I have a long day tomorrow. Really long day. That's way too much wire, but what are you going to do? Bada bang. And then we'll come in over here. It's called I Need Some More Hands. and a little less tripods and crap in my way. There we go. She solidified good that time. Alright, so there's our speaker wired. Now I can twist those wires together. I'm twisting those wires together. Stand by. You guys can see twisting those wires together. Twist, twist, twisteroo. Actually, I might have to end this live stream a little bit earlier. I think I'm having digestive issues. Whoa. Yeah, so this is probably an older hilt, everyone. This hilt was actually designed for the standard 28mm flat speaker or custom Saber shops premium speaker, as they call it. So yeah, this is TCSS 28mm flat. I had to order it just for this hilt, and they do still make them, but you guys are absolutely right. Nobody uses these flat speakers anymore. But I will tell you this. I did use one in my A New Hope training Graflex, my Mentor Graflex, and you guys never knew it because that thing sounds great with a flat speaker in it. I was actually surprised at how good it sounds because I've gotten so used to the bass speakers. Yeah. I was like, whoa, stomach rumbled. I might be in trouble. Yeah, Ken of the Hill got it. I'm having rumblings. I have the some kind of funk going on. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, I may have to end the stream definitely here in a minute. So we may not get to all this tonight, but oh well, at least we got a lot of V4 stuff tonight. Let me get those battery wires where I can get to them. I'm trying to route these speaker wires in here right now, so just stand by. Oh, the wire routes are very, very tiny on this thing. So this hilt was designed when everybody was using 30 gauge or 32 gauge wire for everything, and the wire passages are just, I don't think there's any way I'm going to be able to light that with a damn Neopixel. There is no way. It doesn't even want to take twisted 30 down that wire passage. Oh, you're going to go. Because I'm going to take my forceps and jam her home. Oh, you know it's bad when they don't want to go when you're jamming it with your forceps. Oh, there it's going. Speaker wire's going. So I had to put my speaker wire in there before we put the battery in there, because I don't think we'll be able to get the speaker wire in there after the battery is soldered up. But we'll get the battery soldered up so you guys can see that. Hopefully my battery negative wire is long enough that I've already run my battery negative and positives into the wire routes to see if I could get them in there, because I figured I didn't want to do. Oh, looky there. I got my speaker wire. Bam. So we've got the speaker wire through the crystal chamber. Oh, Tom. Oh, you know what? We'll just disconnect. We'll desolder the speaker wire. That sucks, because I didn't run the speaker wire through where it needs to go. Dum da dum dum dum. Caught live on video doing stupid stuff again. That's all right. We can fix it. We have the technology. I think somebody's sending me messages while we're live. You know, when I'm trying to get ready to go live, everybody's like sending me messages, and I'm like, oh, I'm trying to get ready, guys. Killing me. Killing me. All right. Speaker's resoldered. You guys already saw it once. If I was blocking you, it is what it is. So, you know, the speaker is going to set right there. Let's get the slack out of there. That's where the speaker is going to set. It's very beautifully machined to sit right there, just like that. And I'll have to glue it in. And we'll get to that later. I'm going to leave a little bit of slack. So, now, yeah, what are you going to do? So now, this is a custom Saber shop, you know, protected 18650, 15 amp just charge battery. And they come with these, you know, big JST connectors on there. And, you know, This wire that they come with is, I think it's 24 gauge wire, but I'm not going to use a lot of it. So basically I'm going to snip, snipperoo. Only do one wire at a time, because if you were to snip through both of these wires, you're going to make a circuit. That would be bad, because the circuit is short. It's from here to here. You don't want to do that. But there we go. There are our 2 lead wires, which I'm going to connect into my 22 gauge wires that are already in there in the hilt right there. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to strip a little bit of these wires. It's 24 gauge. I'm pretty sure it's 24 gauge. And I'm definitely going to have to use some shrink here. 24 gauge there. 24 gauge there. And I want to keep these separate. This is the dangerous part. Danger, Will Robinson. Because, you know, if you watch Mad Cow's videos, you know, he's always covering these things with insulators to protect against a potential short circuit. And because we're live tonight, you know, I'm living life on the edge, which is, you know, very, very dangerous. But I'm not going to touch the wires. Don't cross the streams. Don't cross the streams. Think about it like that. You don't want to cross these 2 streams. If you cross these 2 streams right now, it would be very, very bad. So that battery is somewhat dangerous right now because it's live and I got 2 bare wires, but not for long. Not for long, ladies and gentlemen. I know. I feel like I'm a bad, bad boy. Now, I wonder if I left myself enough wire to get through there. I think I did. It's barely there. If not, I'm going to have another joint inside the hilt. I got to get some shrink wrap. Living dangerously. Living on the edge. Let's see. I think I need this size shrink. I got a big bulk container of shrink wrap. It has all sorts of assorted sizes of heat shrink wrap. It's pretty cool. Got it at the Home Creepo. Yeah, just pray for no sparks while we got all this going on here. So now I'm going to come in here and strip my 22 gauge feed wires so we can join them. And hopefully they're both long enough to reach the recharge port, because that's the mission tonight, right? Is to feed the recharge port. Positive and negative. And then the good news about is if I do that, then I can actually, let me get some heat shrink going and turn on my heat gun. A little bit of heat shrinkage there, and cut a piece there, and cut a piece there. And we're going to put those on our wires here before we join them, because if not, we won't be able to. And a little twist, twist, twistaroo. Little dip, dip, dipperoo. And then a little tin, tin, tinaroo. Way too much wire. I'm going to have to cut some of that off, but you know, we're living dangerous tonight. What can we say? There we go. All right, get lost. There we go. Okay, so now, God, this camera is not where I want it to be. So let me try and move y'all. And should I try and do this freehand? We're living dangerous tonight, right? We're going to try and do this freehand, because I would like to get this covered up with shrink so we're not, you know, dealing with an explosive situation here. And let's see if we can pull this off freehand. 1, 2, 3. Ho, ho, ho! Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. We got a freehand. Don't go down in the hilt, you bastard. Come on up here. You know you want to go back home. That's where you want to go, right there. And then we're going to bring in our little heat gun and shrink our heat wrap. Now we're a little bit safer. are a little bit less likely to die because we have that exposed, covered with shrinker wrapper. And now, should I try to freehand the negative too, you think? Since the positive worked out? Yeah, let's freehand. This whole thing could explode right now live, and then maybe my video would go viral. Megtooth Sith dies Monday night, soldering battery wires because he didn't listen to Mad Cow. Little shrinkaroo. Shrinkaroo. The Saber's for Tony, who lives a long, long way away in a galaxy far, far away from me. But I built quite a few Sabers for Tony. He's a massive Saber-holic. He would fit right in here. But I think he's too busy to watch live videos. Damn. Positive's not going to be long enough. Crapola. Mother and country. Doesn't that just suck? Look, my positive is just barely not long enough to reach. Oh, it might reach. Oh, you guys couldn't see it. Shit, had it off screen. My positive is just barely not making it. Let's see here. I have a little bitty 22 gauge wire here, so I'm going to do a magic trick. Because I need a pigtail to join to all my other positives, so I'm going to do that right here. And I'm going to go ahead and strip this positive. Hopefully. Let me clean that up because there's some solder on there. Because I want to be able to get the jacket up past it. And I'm going to strip this 22. Just like that. And I'm going to try and extend it. Going to try to do the little trickaroo here. And we'll use shrink to cover this joint. It's just barely not long enough. I was trying to use some scrap wire there and didn't work out. Didn't work out for the beaker. Although I should, I'll put shrink on this before I do it. You guys will see what I'm doing here in a second. Basically just trying to extend out the wire just a hair with my joint, and I'll cover all this with heat shrink. There we go. Now let me pre-tin our positive pad down here. And then we'll put some heat shrink on this positive pad. It'd be nice if I could get the solder in there. I know you guys aren't going to be able to see this, but with this recharge port already in there, normally I would install a recharge port outside of the hilt. And I know this looks a little crazy, but it won't when I'm done. Because we're going to use a longer piece of heat shrink here to cover up that disaster that I made there because my wires were too short. And let's try to come in here for the kill. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this, but I'm going to solder, hopefully, this positive wire to my recharge port. Oh, man. One, two, three. She's on there. Looks like I have a little errant wire there. And then we'll bring in the shrinkaroo there. And shrink that up. We'll know if it's successful here in a minute. Then this is my cutoff, so I know this is my battery negative, and it looks like my battery negative will have a little bit more spare, but not much. And then we can hook this up to a recharge port and test it. All right, let me pre-tin the battery negative there. No, it's not a solder jumper, Bobby. It's actually that spare wire. I actually stripped that spare wire down so it reached the other wire. So that's why I had so much stripped wire there. Was I needed to get that wire to the recharge port. So it wasn't solder. That's actually on there with wire. All right. See, now we're getting to the point where too many freaking wires are in the way here. Definitely not going to get to the switches tonight. Now let me try to bend this where it's going straight down, and I need some shrink wrap on this, and I'm going to cut the shrink wrap on an angle before it goes around this post, and I'm going to cut it there. We're going to pop it around there. And then I'm going to need my hemostats, because this 22 gauge wire heats up pretty fast and it's hard for me to hang on to it. So it's a lot easier with hemostats. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this action in there, but I need some solder too. Let me butter up my iron here. Get a pretty good amount of solder on my iron. And try to bring in this wire. Hopefully y'all can see it. If I'll try to angle it your way so you can see what I'm doing here. But lighting's going to be tough. That looks pretty good. There's some spare wire past the end there. I want to cut that off. It's kind of hard for me to get at it. Then we're ready to put our shrink up over that. So I'm bringing our shrink down that we put on there a minute ago that we cut that angle cut on. And we'll put our shrink wrap over that port and down, covering as much of it as we can. And then we're going to shrinkaroo. And then while the shrink wrap's hot, I'm going to bend it where I want it. Like that. Cool. 2 Chord North. Peter North here, old adult film star. Very interesting stream tonight. Huh. 2 Chord North. Jesus. That's crazy. You never know who's going to check on your live streams, right? So now I need some white 22 gauge. Are you a Saber fan? Are you a Saber fan? And stumbled across here? Or did the YouTube algorithms do something crazy tonight? Because like normally there's just a bunch of nerds that like lightsabers that watch these streams, and we all kind of take advice from each other and learn from each other and pick on each other about how big of a nerd we all are. And everybody makes fun of us because we're nerds, including my girlfriend. Jenru, she checked in on the live stream a little bit ago, and she's like, are like all those people as nerdy as you? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, and it's okay. And she knows, she loves the fact that I'm a nerd. And I'm cool in my nerddom. I embrace it. I know I'm a nerd. Who's soldering on lightsabers to make a stupid movie prop come to life? You're a nerd. I am definitely not an adult film star. I'm trying to solder this cut off leg on there. There you go, baby. You want to take it right there. Exactly. I'm not a big adult film viewer. Never really got into that. But to each their own. However you can make money to get lightsabers is a good thing, right? And I'm sure if he was a good adult film star, he might be able to afford more lightsabers than me. So hashtag nerd up. Teach your own. All right, so now we're at the point where we can test this recharge port, right? So our little pigtail red here and our little pigtail white here, we don't have anything in the recharge port, so I should be reading battery voltage on there with the handy dandy voltmeter. So I'm going to strip our 22 gauge wire. Now we're back where, Mad Cow would be mad at us. I'm stripping my white wire. I'm going to strip my red wire. And where's my multimeter? And let's put some alligator clips on my multimeter. We'll make it as safe as possible. Safe as possible. Never know who's going to drop in, y'all. I'm sitting here trying to solder a lightsaber, and y'all are talking about 2 quarts something or another. All right. Let's get the multimeter in here. What I'm going to do, hopefully you guys can see all of this. It's kind of crazy. So I'm going to switch to DC volt 9, and you can see it's reading 0 volts here now. Now this white is supposed to be my cutoff for the recharge port, and I'm going to hook it to my black lead, and I'm going to hook this red pigtail to my red lead, and hopefully we get voltage. And we don't. So that means done something wrong here. Wow. Epic fail. 0 volts. I wonder who wrote the book of love. We are connected there. We are connected there. So if that's the case, I bet if we put, I have probably reversed somehow. I don't know if this recharge port got twisted or what. But now we have a danger because we have 2 live wires out here. So let's cut off those stripped portions of the live wire so we're not being like, Mad Cow doesn't want us to be. And let's get in here and diagnose this. Of course, it could be a bad recharge port. Who knows? Not my recharge port. This thing was already in the Saber, and it's an old one. So it could be different than mine. So let's reverse this black and white. I guess it's cool that we ran into this because we just ran into a problem, and you also saw how I diagnosed it. So I know automatically I'm not getting voltage on those 2 wires that I should be getting voltage on. We got a problem. I am guessing I have my cut off leg and my battery negative leg reversed, which would cause that. So we're just going to switch these two wires. And you know, I am getting old, so my vision is not so good. And you know, I could have made that mistake very easily, because this thing is in the hilt, you know, and thought I saw a switchcraft on there, but maybe I didn't. So let's put new piece of shrink wrap on our battery negative, and we're going to try and stretch our battery negative over to that terminal there that we had the white one on. Of course, I also could have pulled the battery loose when I was pulling those wires through there. And I had the recharge port right, but we're going to try this simple solution first and see if maybe this recharge port's a little weird. Because it is an older recharge port. You know, I mean, this Saber was made when God, that wire is just not long enough. I might have to turn that recharge port a little bit. I bet I might have pulled the wire off when we were pulling the battery through. That could definitely have happened. Alright, so now we're going to put that piece of shrink over there. And if this doesn't work, then I have to pull the battery out and see if I didn't pull the damn battery connections off when I was trying to get the wires through there. And if that happened, I need to go to the bathroom. And this has been a horrible night. Horrible. But that's Saber building, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes you're the deer and sometimes you're the semi. That is true. You know, blown soundboards, problems, other people's stuff, other people's things that you're fixing. Who knows? Or it could have been just we're live and I was pulling those wires through the Saber live and that's what caused that. Who the hell knows? I think I had the recharge port wired right, so I'm starting to think I pulled the battery wires out, but I'm trying to be positive here. Let me strip this wire here. This wire here. Don't cross the streams now because these might be live. Might be. Alright, so let's bring the multimeter in here again. Still on 9-volt range. Positive to positive. Negative to negative. And we're still not reading volts. Well, that can only mean one thing. That means that when we have broken a connection in our battery connections. Has to be. Has to be. Or I've broken a wire inside of there. I don't understand this now. Let me do something here. Let me pull back this insulation. So let's do a direct connect here and bypass the recharge port altogether. So there's my red probe and my black probe I'm going to put direct to there. And we've got nothing. So I'm right on my black wire and right on my red wire and I'm still got no volts. So I've either got a defective battery or something going on here. So wow, major foobar situation there. What are you going to do? That's why the multimeter is so handy, because, you know, had you installed this Saber going, oh, I wired all that correctly. No, you didn't. But this gives us a chance to put longer wires in and do this right anyway. So let's just disconnect that. And cut the strip, because, you know, don't cross the streams. And we're going to pull all this crap off. And we're going to desolder that wire right there. And I think I'm just going to cut this, because I'm probably going to add longer wires on there anyway. And let's pull all this out. So here's my battery. And I've either pulled out something or something's wrong with this battery. So there we go. I did not break those wires. So let's bring in the multimeter here and find out what we've got going on the battery. Go direct in. Going to connect in there. And we're going to connect in right to, ooh, don't cross the streams. No volts. Well, have you ever seen a custom Saber Shop battery arrive with no volts? Huh. That's highly unusual. Never seen that before, ever. Bad battery. That totally sucks. I'm hooked direct into the battery now. 0 volts. So I had 0 volts all through the system. I've tracked all the way back to the battery. I'm at 0 volts in the battery. Yeah. Now, this is brand new, fresh out of the box, custom Saber Shop battery. That really sucks, because I figured I had everything connected right. I did a lot of prep work. Let's do this. Let's break out another brand new custom Saber Shop battery. I'll show you it's new in the packaging. Stand by. Let's get all this dangerous stuff out of here. Danger, Will Robinson. Live wires with no volts. Brand new. In the packaging. The joys of saber building, dude. So you want to be a lightsaber installer, and you go to buy things like this that cost a lot of money, and then they're, you know, FUBAR on delivery. Yeah. I get to spend another $15, but the customer never sees that. The customer just knows that they paid 15 bucks for a battery. They don't know that I paid 30 for 2. Now I might be able to rehab that battery. Maybe it just totally dead, needed a charge, but who knows. So here's the brand new battery. We just stripped those wires. Let's hook on direct. I didn't figure I needed to test a brand new custom Saber Shop battery. Looky there. 3.38 volts, which, you know, I expected that. Yeah, I'm going to try and recoup that battery and see if I can fix it. But I just wanted to make sure my multimeter was working and everything. No, Jeff, this was, I got these in about a month ago. It's not that old. It's pretty fresh. Oh, well, the best laid plans of mice and men. But sometimes, you know, y'all remember what Yoda said, right? What did Yoda say in The Last Jedi? And sometimes when we have failures like this on my live streams, well, it's frustrating and depressing, and you're like, wow, we did all that work, and we had the Saber almost ready to install, and we had to tear the whole damn thing apart. Because of this. But the fact of the matter is if you, I think the key lesson tonight is use a multimeter. Now I know I got to switch this white wire back over to here because I had that damn recharge port wired right. I know I had the recharge port wired right. But there's two bottom lines here. Let's put y'all back on the tripod. Oh, Lord have mercy. Stand by. Crazy. Losing viewers as we speak. Yeah. You know, failure's a good teacher. And when you're building lightsabers, you're going to run across problems like this. And this isn't the first time we've run across a problem in the live video. And, you know, we're well past an hour. We're at an hour and a half. I'm tired. No, the meter wasn't on hold, Bobby, because I tested a new battery and it worked out good. But, you know, I get everything to the point where we test it. And when I test it, I'm not getting what I'm expecting. And if you're not getting what you're expecting, you need to stop and start going backwards, which is what I did. You know, I tried the simple solution, which maybe I got the recharge port wrong and I swapped those wires. And when that didn't work, I'm like, yeah, something's wrong. Maybe I pulled one of the connections out of the battery, but we went all the way back to the battery and I didn't pull the connections out of the battery. They were still intact, heat shrunk and solder still intact. And I hooked the meter right onto the battery and I'm not getting what I expect out of the battery. I didn't test the battery when we first pulled it out of the package and stripped it, but I've never ever got a battery from TCSS that was showing 0 volts. Now they're always like at 3.2 or 3.3 volts, you know, they're at mid to low charge, and you always need to charge them when you first get them. So what I was going to do tonight is get that battery wired into the recharge port, plug the Saber in, and charge the battery after it's wired to the recharge port. But it happens. But the key thing here is if you're trying to install lightsabers without a recharge port and without a test rig where you can test things that you've made, you might be making a mistake. Because by the time that I get to the point where I'm going ahead and igniting that Saber for a first time, I am 99.9% sure it's going to work, because I've tested every aspect of the build as I've installed. And tonight I'm doing my normal test and not getting the expected results, and then I have to back trace to figure out what the problem is. Of course, it's a battery. And you know, what I'll do this week is I'll finish wiring up this Saber to the point where we would have had it tonight. I'll have the switches wired and the adapter put in. And, you know, maybe next week we'll go ahead and install a Proffie board. And you guys can see how I do that solution. But, hey, it's glad to see everybody, including new viewers. And, you know, failure is a good teacher. And I'll tell you one thing. This is the first time that's ever happened to me. But I will always check battery voltage now before I start install going back. So, you know, lesson learned tonight for me. And for y'all. And hey, failure is a good teacher. You know, what you saw here tonight was a failure. You saw it live. Megtooth Sith is a failure. So you want to install lightsabers, do you? It's loads of fun. But at any rate, I'll fix this. I mean, y'all saw how quick I diagnosed it. I can plug all that back in. I can have it to where we had it in about 10 minutes. But getting the camera out of my way will be good. But y'all saw what it was. So I'm going to sign off for tonight because I'm having a digestive emergency. For real. And a drinking problem. So I'm going to put some message in the old chat box for Birch since he's on tonight. Birch, I don't know if you know, but we do this every week. Carrying on your memory, since you have abandoned us, but you still check in on us every now and then. Hashtag Nerd Up. And what hashtag Nerd Up means is be nice to one another and help one another. And hopefully my failures tonight help you to not make the same mistake I did. Check battery voltage with a multimeter before you begin installing your Saber. That is something I've never done before, but I will be doing from now on. And if you don't have a multimeter, get one and learn how to use it. It can save you a lot of time and headache. Because a lot of times, like, new people and new installers are thinking, man, I've done something wrong. And they may not have done something wrong outside of not using a multimeter. Your soldering may be dead spot on. your wire merges may be dead spot on and you just had a dead battery like we had tonight. Or you have a bad connector that you didn't test. So that's why I test everything. That's why it takes me so long to install Sabers, because I don't just wire, solder, throw it all together. Good luck. Here it is. Have a nice day. I test everything as I go, and then I test everything once it's together. So it is what it is. Yes, it is Tom, Blues Bro. My name is Tom, and I really appreciate everybody that's tuning in. If you're not getting notifications when I go live, if you hit the like and subscribe button on my channel, and then once you click on subscribe, there's a notification bell, and click that notification bell and select all, and that makes sure that if I'm going live or if I publish a video, y'all can see it. And you know, may the force be with you all. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll read the comments, Jeff. I have to go back and find out what I missed too. But thank y'all for tuning in. I gotta get back to Gen, and also, you know, I've got to deal with my gastronomic emergency. Nothing goes perfect, Bobby. The frustrations that you've been emailing me are just totally normal. Everybody has this stuff. Everybody has stuff that goes wrong that happens. I still think you've got some kind of SD card error. If you can figure out a way to send me that on a WAV file, the spoken message in a WAV file, I'll try and see what it says for you. But thank you, everybody, for watching and tuning in regular. And hopefully next week you all tune in. We'll be where we should have been, and we'll install the Proffie in this thing. And what are you going to do? Hopefully Tony, if Tony sees this, he'll be like, oh my God. Oh, man. May the force be with y'all. Or the dark side, as it were. We'll see y'all next week.
Thank you, everybody, for watching, as usual. I really appreciate y'all tuning in on my channel. And as always,